Thank you so much to the whole Decatur Book Festival staff and volunteers, my friend Jericho, my fellow poets, and everybody who prioritized poetry on this gorgeous day. I really appreciate you all being here. I just wanted to add, because there are some tweaks to that bio, my second book was called Brief Evidence of Heaven, Poems from the Life of Anna Mary Douglas, and I have to hawk it because the distributor went to heaven, and the only way to get that book now is through me. But that book was a work of imaginative history about Frederick Douglass's first wife, who most people have never heard of. So I want to just start by saying, checking my time. Okay, 12, 16, okay, 28. I call myself a first-generation urban northerner. My mother was born in Manchester, Georgia, and came with her family to Philadelphia in 1943, and my father before her in 1930 from a town called North, South Carolina. They contributed 4 children to a generation who would grow up North-born, but raised by poor, striving Southern people. Children during the civil rights' most public and brutal years who saw the rise of an ideal idea of Blackness, a movement to reverse our diminished sense of self and our erased or muffled sense of power, our rightful personhood in the 70s. Migration Letters, which is the book I'm going to read from, my new baby, is an effort to share my hybrid gaze on the journeys of Great Migration elders and those who came after, the people like me. So, before I start the poems, I have to give thanks for my youngest son, Nzadi Keita, who created this image video from our humongous family archive of photographs. The first poem I'm going to read is called Far. My mother, mic went off? No, we're good. My mother washed your weekly pile of panties while P tested her own body's drawstring with a faint touch, then a nudge. She wanted to get done, to skip the field. She wanted to play. After she hung your drawers up by the scant silk rim made to catch your sweat, she dropped her head into a quiet she could own. This girl, whom you called your girl or your day girl, depending on the company, when of course she never was. Simply my mother, before marriage and children camp. You having a fancy moment, her having a nickel. Nobody looking with a tilted, preordained lens at a 10-year-old female, Negro, counting a times table. Wrapping a wish like a grace note, like a string around her thumb. A wish for wings. My mother squatted on the way home after her portion of yes, ma'am, before having to make rules and beds and trace the lines. She yanked her own grayish cotton drawers aside to water a slope of pine needles far from your gaze, far from the shade of your house. Some of the poems, there's multiple poems in the book that are called Migration Letter. They're distinguished by different numeric titles. This is 173, Migration Letter. Squeezing fresh oranges for juice and setting the weighted glass pitcher to chill back in the fridge was worth the work. In the 30s, you stood in uniform, spun a metal wheel to start the cloudy gush that cranked to bee yellow pulp for those extra children you gave a folded smile, whose parents paid you in torn blouses, envelopes of pennies and dimes. Dumb beautiful, we came bobbing to life in the 50s, called down your rough carpeted green stairs to a world rung right. That single love bright morning note you poured in small, delicate glasses. Where are we going from here? I guess we're on this journey. Those are the Georgia poems, some of them. I'm going to read some excerpts from A Long Migration Letter, number 38. You are not front pew people whose eyes flip on their own light when they hear Spelman, Morehouse, Bennett College. You are people without tassels, saving coffee cans and thumbtacks, glass jars for drippings, wiping aluminum foil clean, cooking people, cleaning people, maybe factory people, depending on where you came from. Booking college people, people with land, consume you in a glow. With a dipped glance, you regard them as if you have reason for shame. You cut your feet, you burn your palms, slit your shoulders on the loose metal belt of a barrel. Disordered flesh, expected to keep calm through your escape from writhing red ditches and rusted hooks meant for hog hanging. Philadelphia, a place with a Negro newspaper, Marian Anderson, and a Negro YMCA. With great stone churches you will buy nickels at a time once the white people sell cheap and flee to green valleys past the city line, safe for them. You are not people on a porch moving fans across charmed skin. No. People who scramble to your feet, footsteps that clean the city's dirt, the cool undersides of houses well up in the tales your children hear. You carry while you climb. That's an excerpt. Ooh, okay, moving right along. I'm gonna read a poem. I hope it's not too long, Jericho. This poem is called, well, it's got a long title, but I'm just gonna give you the shorter part. The poem is called Soul Singers. No, Letters to the Soul Singers. Lou Rawls, Aretha Franklin, Coco Taylor, Ruth Brown, Brooke Benton, Nina Simone, B.B. King, Otis Redding, and James the Godfather of Soul Brown. It kicked off when Aretha died. And I realized that while there are some soul singers left, soul singers born in the South are mostly gone. Every flower, cars whipped past on a 2-lane road. Every flower, trains curled to straw under their iron gullets. Every flower mashed in shitty ruts by a wagon hauling children yanked from school to pluck some fat proviso in unmarked fields. You singers, you swelled them all to witness in your guts, in your throats, in your vessels. Sheets of percale and rust and rattle, sheets of satin and raped magnolia, sheets of reveille trilled by Alabama swans. You singers, you sang Georgia out of its secret graves. Let the drunk brother gather himself on the back steps and say his piece. Smuggled rope out of Mississippi, braided like mist. Now, who will call the patterns out in names we invented from rough fabrics, born for bandages? Who will assure the elders all have rides home? Who will secure the night outside their doors? Who, you singers, knew where the cotton cut between index and thumb. You called out trouble to come eat salt tomatoes and laugh across the street. Now, here our young come, blue lit and bleary, out of black challengers on circus rims, intent on screaming, out of screens intended to suck them blind, plugged mute. We wave, we lean from the porch, out of ways to transmit or maintain. Who will wade out to that place just beyond where procrastinated dying trembles in living creases, begs $1 to pump our gas? Now that you're gone, whose rusty tenors, whose whiskey altos will straddle these tides? Who will work the night, season the skillet, keep the watch and hold the subway grate? Who will walk the wretched up to the altar? I'm gonna squeeze in one more real tight, Jerry. It's from a longer migration letter. It's letter to the first gen North, so that's my people. Saviors, barreling into Thanksgiving dinner late on your way to a homecoming game, feeding a ritual that feeds you, brimming youth or style or college credits earns you a local stardom at this address. You are the newspaper of now. No buckets of water or slop, no chickens to feed, pet or slaughter, no barriers to pencils or lights. You're born expectant, deaf to dawn's ringing hammers. In flight from a language you speak but won't own. You stutter briefly before those creaky eyes, gone black as a country sky. With fingertips ignorant to the earth, the codes and textures they lived by, you pull away from the table, carrying plates, leaking from the stack, some ache only Aretha can contain. Thank you.